Hey everybody, Kevin Anthony here, sometimes also known as the Truth Warrior. In this video, I'm going to be talking about, is toxic masculinity real? Why do I mention the Truth Warrior? Because I am going to drop some truth bombs in this one. But before I do that, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Doing so greatly helps the channel. I'd also like to let you know that Power and Mastery 3.0 is now live. Power and Mastery is the men's sexual mastery program that Selena and I created, and I have gone through that program and completely revamped it, updated it, added lots of new content, and brought in some of the latest, greatest science and information to bring it up to date. So please go check that out at powerandmastery.com. Okay, so is toxic masculinity real? This subject continues to come up. It's been in the sort of ether, the atmosphere, for quite a while now, and it seems almost to be an old subject, and yet it just keeps coming back. This idea of toxic masculinity just won't die. So I'm going to do my best to help kill it. The short answer to is toxic masculinity real is no. No, it is not real. Now I know some people are already spinning out of control and screaming at the screen as you're watching this. Of course it's real. I had this and I experienced that and blah, blah, blah. The reality is masculinity is not toxic. There are toxic behaviors, but masculinity in and of itself is not toxic. And this is the problem. This is a huge problem with modern society today. We conflate things on purpose most of the time. So because there are men who have some toxic behaviors, we conflate men and behaviors and we call it toxic masculinity. It's not that masculinity is toxic in any way. In fact, masculinity is extremely helpful and needed in this world, just like femininity is extremely helpful and needed in this world. And in fact, to have amazing relationships, we need both. We need the masculine, the strong masculine, and we need the feminine, right? We need both of those to show up and co-create a magical union. So masculinity is not toxic. However, there are toxic behaviors. There are things that people do that are not healthy. Now, Selena and I, and we've talked about this in other shows on the Love Lab podcast, as well as other videos here on YouTube, about this idea of sort of levels of the masculine, or stages of the masculine, maybe a better word. And we used to call it the macho asshole, the softy new age guy, and the integrated masculine. What do we mean by those? Well, the macho asshole is the old version of masculinity, the sort of domineering version of it's my way or the highway and I control you. The kind of masculine that feels like a woman is his property, that he gets to do with what he pleases. And that's, when they talk about toxic masculinity, those are really the behaviors that they're referring to. I don't see a lot of those men around these days. There are, of course, still some, and there are higher concentrations of them in certain cultures. But for the most part, I don't see a lot of them today. The next is the Softy New Age Guy. The Softy New Age Guy is a more modern masculine who looks at that old macho asshole masculine and says, I don't want to be like that guy. That just seems wrong. And so they swing the pendulum all the way over to the other side, and they become the really soft guys, the whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. Oh, I don't want to do that because that might offend you. That guy thinks he's doing the right thing. He thinks he's respecting the feminine. He even will say words like, I adore the feminine, I love the feminine, I worship the feminine. But the reality is he doesn't have the masculinity that the feminine is actually looking for. Now, some women will gravitate towards, be attracted to this particular type of man because they haven't had the nurturing, the love, the appreciation from the other men that she or they have dated. And they get that from the Softy New Age guy. The problem is those relationships don't generally last long term, because eventually when her cup is full and she feels like she's gotten all of those things that the Softy New Age guy can provide, she realizes that she's missing some other critical parts that are really important to her, and that's a strong masculine. So that then brings us to the third type, which we call the integrated masculine. And you'll hear lots of different terms for this. People will call it the evolved masculine, the enlightened masculine, the conscious masculine. There's lots of terms. I prefer the term integrated masculine because the word integrated doesn't really have any other meanings associated with it as does like conscious or evolved, right? When you say, hey, you want to be the evolved masculine, people instantly get triggered and go, oh, you're saying I'm not evolved, right? So the integrated masculine simply is a man who has integrated both of the previous versions of the masculine. That is, he is strong like the macho asshole masculine. He brings the strong masculine in. He's a provider. He's a protector, right? He knows how to build things. He fills that portion of the masculine that the feminine so deeply desires. But yet he's integrated because he can also do the things that the softy, new agey masculine guy can do. He can love her. He can share his emotions. He can appreciate her. He can fill her cup up with all of those things that she also needs. So, back to, is toxic masculinity real? No, masculinity is not toxic at all. There are only toxic behaviors. And as men, our goal, our job is to evolve past any toxic behaviors that we still have left within us. We want to become the integrated masculine. And that is a noble and worthy goal. And it is something that the feminine absolutely craves and desires.